back, you know, Deuce and Mo.
Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know.
Do it for Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Hey. Do it for Deuce and Mo. When it comes to the Kings, it's my favorite show. Do it for Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Hey. Do it for Deuce and Mo. When it comes to the Kings. Big hopes and dreams as we cover our kings. Never cover the kingdom, but we loving our kings. And we covered your prayers as we doing our thing. Big Deuce with the par, Lil Mo on the screen. Solo or together, still do it for team. Never switch up for $1 or revenue stream. So we always got each other, balance out the beam. Deuce and Mo, and that's the end of the thing. So do it for Deuce and Mo. Deuce and Mo. Hey.
We are live!
To the Kings, it's my favorite show.
Oh, Wednesday, and you know what that means.
What does that mean?
That's stealing it from Dynamite. But anyway, we are live. Deuce and Mo podcast getting underway in just a few minutes. How are we doing on this Wednesday, everybody?
What up, Deuce?
Oh, hey, what's up, man?
Hey, Morgan.
Hi.
What's going on, man?
I'm rooting for y'all.
Thank you, dude. I appreciate that, man.
Let's go, Kang.
Let's go, Kang.
Jam-packed podcast today. Scheduled to appear, Matt Barnes at 10:15.
I love that you say scheduled to appear.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah. But like,
you did communicate with him today. So scheduled to appear is Matt Barnes at 10:15, 11 o'clock. Marc J Spears from ESPN. He'll stop by. Appreciate people hanging out with us. Also, a huge thank you before we start the podcast to everyone who rolled through for our watch party last night. Yeah, we did the traditional thing on YouTube and Twitch, but tried the new playback thing, which I felt like it was a lot of fun because you could actually watch the actual game in front of you, have us on the screen, chat with us, pop in and talk to. It's pretty cool. So thanks to all that. Also, let's give some love to our newest YouTube member.
hey.
Hell yeah.
Martin 23 King is one of the OGs. Martin comes through. He's our newest member.
Appreciate
on YouTube.
that.
Appreciate that, man.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Shout out to Joe, Gabriel, Leezy, Aaron, Chuck, Neo, Wilsey, Kyron. Let's see here. There's one comment I want to read. Richard said, nothing better than chasing around a 2-year-old with Deuce and Mo on. Thanks for doing the work, guys.
Man,
Hell yeah.
that's some tough work. As long as we're in your ears, hopefully we can make you more relaxed.
Yes.
I don't know what we would actually add in that situation.
Let's see. Entertainment, fun, knowledge, insight. If you're watching the video, good looks.
Puffy hair.
It's getting a little puff. I'm telling you, I'm honoring Jokic this week. The two-time MVP.
That's good.
Oh, is Embiid still crying about not winning it?
Hey, be nice. You got hit in the face yesterday.
No, here's my problem with it, and we'll start the podcast in a second.
Jeez.
Here's my problem with it. Embiid acts like he got screwed. No. If Embiid won it, I would have been cool with it. Great season. But, let's not act as if this was not a close MVP race in terms of the seasons we saw from Embiid and Giannis and, of course, Jokic.
Yeah. And I think if you are Joel Embiid, you're supposed to feel that way. You believe in your value, your talent, and what you did produce this season, and you believe you are the MVP. That's totally fine. But also respect the other players that play at that high level.
Come on, man. Give some love. All right.
Absolutely.
Let's start the podcast. Matt Barnes coming up in a few.
Let's do the damn thing.
So just to be clear, Morgan, when I say hit the music and I play the music, don't go.
So I listened back yesterday. It was nothing. It was literally.
But what's the point in it?
But no. So there is. It's not like I'm trying to sabotage the song or anything.
Just back up.
No. It was literally, you guys. I went back and watched it yesterday, and all I did was, and he blew up.
Oh yeah, I blew
thought you were
up,
gonna kill somebody.
Do some mo coming down, and pre-show's over. Let's start the podcast in 3, 2, 1. Hit my mute. Damn it.
Karma's a bitch.
How'd I burp in the middle?
Because karma. Karma. Yeah, you're disgusting.
Damn
You're
it.
gross. What the?
All right,
Are
it's
you?
my bad, guys. I apologize.
How does that even?
I don't know.
Like, aren't you in your 30s? Like, don't you have control? You
Honestly,
sicko.
My bad,
You
my bad.
sick human.
All right,
God.
my bad, guys. All right, coming down in 3, 2, 1. Hit my music.
Deuce and more. Deuce and more. Deuce and more. They tell you what they know. Deuce and more. Deuce and more. Deuce and more. The podcast that you know.
Welcome into the Deuce and Mo podcast, a big podcast, a double feature scheduled to appear. Matt Barnes and Marc J. Spears. We got a lot to go over, some craziness in the NBA last night. Of course, we'll hit on Mike Brown with Matt Barnes, who was coached by Mike Brown.
Yes.
The Lakers and the Warriors. We'll get his thoughts on what the Kings did with their next head coach. Then Marc J. Spears will drop in as well. Super excited for this podcast. As always, we want to give some love to the people who make this happen, including the DetailProsSack.com. The DetailProsSack.com. Go there if you want your car detailed and looking sexy and smooth.
Ooh, I'm getting my car detailed this Friday, so I'm super excited to show all you what a clean car can look like. Plus, Deuce, we talked about this before. You know how important it is to actually get your car cleaned on the monthly, on the weekly, on yearly, however the hell you need to get your car washed. Get it washed. It's better for your car and for you.
So, Morgan Reagan, how the hell are you?
I'm fantastic. I enjoyed having a watch party last night, watching some good good basketball, and the Suns were ahead and seemed to be ahead the entire game. It felt like, right? Like they just seemed in control.
Even when it was kind of close in the first half.
Even when it was kind of close, there's something about it that they seemed more in control. And it was just a fun, exciting, physical game.
They played championship defense in the second half last night. I mean, they were just crisp. They were all over the place. They were defending on ball, which is obviously important. The rotations, the help, everything was clicking, forcing turnovers. And then you saw Dallas get frustrated. I was beyond impressed from what I saw with the Phoenix Suns last night. It was amazing.
Yeah, just all together. I mean, everyone Chris Paul wasn't in foul trouble, and DeAndre Ayton just keeps showing why, like, he deserves to get paid somewhere, you know? So Devin Booker, again, we talked about this a little bit last night, just one of those guys where not even underrated, but underappreciated at times in what he is capable on both ends of the floor. And then he had that one time when he was pushed to the ground and he took his time and he called it. I sent you a video about it, but he referred to it to a fan like that's that Luka stuff.
Yeah, the flopping to the ground, hanging out.
Taking your time.
Flop City.
Take a breath. Do what you got to do.
We'll get more into those games coming up here. Draymond Green did a podcast. And, you know, one thing I dig about what Draymond's doing now, it's not about talking to the media anymore. And he'll still talk to the media. He's still good with the media. But when he wants to express himself and talk about what happened in the game and dive deep, when he wants to talk about getting ejected, whatever it is, he's going straight to his podcast to do it.
Smart.
That's a businessman right there.
Oh,
That's how
yeah.
you get it done. Like, hey, make some money off your thoughts. Why not?
Yeah.
Anyway, he did have some thoughts on the Kings and their addition of Mike Brown to the coaching staff. Well, as the head coach. Here's what Draymond had to say on his podcast yesterday.
Congratulations to Mike Brown on getting the head coach of the Sacramento Kings. I think the Sacramento Kings is on a 17-year playoff drought, 16, 17-year playoff drought. I have no doubt in my mind that Mike is going to take his championship pedigree, his incredible, especially defensive mind, incredible basketball mind, with an incredible staff to Sacramento with him. And I think it won't be long before that streak is broken.
Won't be long until that streak. Draymond said it, Morgan.
Draymond said it. Draymond also did talk about, I believe, that Dave Yeager team when they had that really fast pace and being like, they're one of the, fastest teams in the league and sneaky scary, right?
Yeah,
And
I remember Klay Thompson saying nice things. And look, I think part of it too, there's this cynic out there who would say, wow, one of his players is saying nice things about him. Sure. Again, he doesn't have to do that on his podcast. He's not being asked about it. He said it. And I think they like Mike Brown. So it's cool. It doesn't mean that the Kings have their head coach for the next 10 years. It doesn't mean that they're going to be a playoff team. I'm not trying to sell you on that. I just think it's interesting when you hear players who have played for a guy talk about him. And we're going to chat with Matt Barnes in a few minutes, who got to know Mike Brown at a different time. You know, when Mike Brown was the coach of the Lakers, and then again when Mike Brown was hired on and Steve Kerr's staff in the 2016-17 season, his first year with the Warriors. Matt Barnes played on the Golden State Warriors after leaving the Sacramento Kings.
yeah, so, you know, Matt Barnes has his experience as well. And like Deuce said, it's cool when you hear players of Draymond Green's caliber talk about certain coaches. Mark Jackson, for example, we already talked about that when leading up to the finalists, and Steph and Draymond were talking about Mark Jackson on their podcast and just, you know, what kind of coach he is and why he deserves a second chance in the league, all that. And so it's nice to hear Draymond has some good words for Mike Brown as well.
I'm excited to see how it looks, and I'm excited to see how Mike Brown has evolved over time.
Same. I think over the last few days, you keep hearing all these wonderful things about him. And then some people heard Matt Barnes yesterday with D'Lo and Casey have some other things to say about Mike Brown as well. And what I love about it is that there's going to be different experiences with the different coaches. Draymond might love one guy. Steph might not like that same guy. You know, you just never know how it's going to go with coaches and players and what their experience is. So it's nice to be able to talk to former players to hear what their experience was too.
And Mike Brown's going to be coaching Game 5 Warriors Grizzlies tonight in Memphis.
Yeah.
Man, I feel bad for Memphis, how their season's turned out, because now we're getting the news about John Morant, and he's done for the rest of the playoffs with that knee thing going on. That bums me out. You know, I didn't necessarily think this was going to be a crazy, like, 7-game series, but I was excited for it, and it's been a bit of a letdown. And it's one, the Morant injury, GPT2 going down. Bane hasn't really played well. Oh, so we kind of have a letdown. And now it's always interesting when a young team like Memphis maybe goes beyond expectations, right? Like, no one expected them to be the number 2 seed this year. But they did it, and they were awesome in the regular season. When Morant was gone, they were awesome. When he was there, they were awesome. They did some great things. But then you get that first real playoff test. That
Different
first
game.
test against a team that's won championships before, that knows, like,
How to make the adjustments.
but dealing with the emotions, dealing with the ups and downs, dealing with the crowd. Like, there are obstacles that you just don't know until you do it. And this is such a valuable experience for a young team like Memphis. Like this, they're going to look back at this time and go, wow, okay, we thought we were legit. We thought we could win a championship. But now that we experience like a tough series, now we have to figure out how to get over that hump. We have to all within, not just a team thing, what can Desmond Bane do in the offseason? What can John Morant do defensively? Like, those are all the big questions for Memphis going in to the offseason.
Yeah, you talk about the individual experience for some of these guys and what it does for their mentality and what it does for them just being able to be like, okay, this is what I can do differently. But then you talk about some of the other guys, like you just did with John Morant and his defense. Sam Amick wrote a piece the other day in The Athletic talking about John Morant's defense. And although he was the most improved player, his defense when he's on the floor with the Grizzlies is worse when he's off the floor. And that the same thing happened in that last game where they had a better defensive rating with him off the floor. And I'm not acting like, I think it is ridiculous when some people be like, man, the numbers show that team's so much better without John Morant on the team, because it's like, no, that's not necessarily the case. The numbers don't tell the entire story, but you get to see where one could truly evolve as a player and what that could mean for an entire team to take the next leap.
And when a guy like John Morant takes such a big jump, he won Most Improved this year. He was already good last year.
Right.
We see he can be a guy in this league.
Right.
It's like the expectations get out of whack. Like people forget that John Morant is still a young player in this league, as if he's been in the league for 17 years. Like John Morant is 22 years old. He turns 23 in August. This is not like he's like 28 years old and say, he's new. He's still a baby in the league.
And he's still a baby. This is something you and I kind of discussed yesterday when we were talking about we saw someone on TikTok talk about how players and their age doesn't get talked about enough. You know, like we used to talk about in the day with Charles Barkley and a lot of other people, like, hey, their age can make a difference. And nowadays it's like the expectations, we don't give a damn if you're 38, you better be playing like you were 21, you know, and you got to be fair.
Dude, you totally have to be fair. And I think some people are so unfair with players, and they don't give enough credit or love to the evolution of the game and all of that. Well, let's get to it. He's our guy. It's been a minute since we caught up with him. You see him on ESPN, of course, his awesome podcast, All the Smoke. He's the one and only Matt Barnes. What's up, Matt?
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
We're good, man. What's new, man? How are you doing?
I'm good. Busy, actually. We filmed today, too. So as soon as I'm done with you guys, I head to the studio. We have Pat Beverly and Latrell Sprewell today, so it should be a good day.
Wait, did you just say you have Pat Beverly today?
Pat Bev and Latrell Sprewell, yep.
Oh, okay,
yeah, should be an interesting day.
Pat Beverly is an interesting player because that guy, you think about his journey as a player, and you know everyone gives him shit because he talks a lot, but the one thing I do really respect about him is he has had to grind to get there,
right.
And that chip on his shoulder, I think, is what makes him such a talented and important player to teams.
Are you going to give him any shit for celebrating in that last game too, or did you like that?
I mean, I like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really know him as a person, but you know, Deuce, what you just said is the grind. I respect the grind because I had a very similar grind. So anyone that can persevere and you know, roll with the punches for all these years and still be a valuable part of teams, you know, I have the ultimate respect for. So, but I'm sure we'll talk about that today as well.
That's awesome. I can't wait for that. So Mike Brown's the new head coach of the Sacramento Kings. I know you were on D-Lo and Casey earlier this week in Sacramento. I want to kind of dive into your thoughts on Mike Brown. Obviously, you knew him from the experience when he was the Lakers head coach, and then when he first got hired by Steve Kerr, his first year with the Warriors. What was your first reaction to the hire, man?
It's going to be interesting. You know, I don't want to come off as someone who thinks that, oh, my opinion is the most important opinion, and he doesn't. I don't want to be negative, you know, but just through my experiences, and you guys know that I'm always going to speak my mind. You know, through my experience with him as a head coach with the Lakers, wasn't a very good one, and it wasn't no issues between us personally. It just wasn't a very good experience for our team, considering, you know, we went from Phil Jackson to and that was obviously a night and day type change, but it just didn't, I don't know, just to me, the respect level wasn't there that I feel like a head coach needs from the locker room. I feel like he didn't have that from our locker room, and I think that's very important. And then, you know, being able to fast forward to the 2017 season, after I left the Kings and went to the Warriors, you know, he was the assistant coach, and then filled in for Steve Kerr when Steve Kerr was going through his issues during the playoffs. I think Mike's a great guy, very personable, you know, great energy, really a defensive minded guy, which obviously I feel like the Kings definitely need. But I also feel like the Kings need someone who is going to come set a foundation and help find an identity for this franchise, and not someone who is necessarily going to be buddy with the players, but someone who can get the best out of players and have that respect level. So, you know, I'm interested to see, just like everyone else, you know, as a hometown guy and someone who always kind of kept an eye on the Kings, you know, the city deserves a winning team. You know, that head coaching seat has been a hot seat. It's been a revolving door the last handful of years, along with that GM position. So, you know, Monty McNair, you know, Morgan and you and I discussed this in length. You know, he he made it a very unpopular move, but a move that people are okay with at this point. You know what I mean? He shook things up, and I think as a GM, that's important to not really. Who cares what everyone thinks? You know, if I think this is the best move for the team, I'm going to make it, and that's what he did. So I'm interested to see, with this new hiring, how it turns out, and then also, what the Kings can do this summer, not only in the draft but possibly in trade scenarios as well.
Yeah. And Matt, what I love too, because just like you said, you speak your mind, you share your honest experience, and I love the fairness of that too, because we get to hear not only how much people love him, but then we get to hear the in-house experience that other people might have. And the situation isn't black or white. You don't have to be like team Mike Brown, not team Mike Brown, So I think that's what some people feel like when anything negative is put out there, but it doesn't have to be like that. And my other thing to you then would be, since 2017, do you think there's a possibility that he has not only evolved as a coach in leadership qualities, but have you ever seen a coach evolve during your playing days either?
I think obviously that's a yes, because, as players evolve, coaches evolve, as humans, we're evolving. I hope that I'm a better person than I was, 5 or 6 years ago. So I definitely think, obviously, with the experience he had with Golden State Warriors, being in that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? With that team,
culture, yeah.
The culture, the organization, the dynasty run they have. Obviously, I'm sure he picked up a lot from not only the players but from Coach Core and everyone else in that organization. So again, I don't want to come off as someone who's negative. I just wanted to, when people ask, hey, he was your head coach, how did it go? I'm going to be honest with him. It just didn't go that well. And obviously that's not all his fault. Majority of that lands on the players, and we didn't do our job as players as well. So again, I'm excited to see if he can come in and change his culture and organization. And the one thing that was kind of the common theme last year with Kings was, who's going to be that on the court leader? And I still think, as the organization, they're searching for that. So if you don't have an on the court leader, that head coach position has to also be a leader. So, there's a lot of things that like myself and everyone else are eager to see if Mike Brown can come in and fill those voids for this team.
Yeah, going back to your time with the Lakers and him, what do you think the disconnect was? Was it just hard was he coming in kind of hot? Was it
or soft?
Was it the post Jackson era?
I think it was obviously the post Jackson era and Phil is a legend. But I think Morgan, I don't want to use the word soft because I don't think that's the right word, but I think he tried to come in and be too friendly. And obviously you want to that can talk and relate to players, but then you also have to keep that like, I'm the fucking coach regardless. You know what I mean? Kobe, Pau Gasol, Metal Beast, Lamar Odom, all you guys are on this team, but I'm still the head coach. You know what I mean? And again, sometimes, nice guys kind of have a hard time fitting in, head coaching roles because it's not always about being nice. It's about being the leader of a team and kind of setting the stage for, what to expect. So, again, it'll be interesting to see, how it goes. I'm definitely cheering for him as a head coach because, again, I feel like the town needs it, the organization needs it, and we're due.
Best NBA coach you've had, and what qualities did you love about that coach?
And I got a chance to play for a lot of great coaches, but I would probably put Phil Jackson up there. Brief time with Steve Kerr. Really liked, some of the qualities he had. Liked some of the qualities Doc Rivers had. And to me, I think, and obviously every team is different. And the three coaches I just mentioned right there, we had veteran teams where you can obviously give a little bit because there's understanding of how the game is supposed to be played, how you're supposed to carry yourself, how you're supposed to, be as a player. But I like the confidence that those coaches had in us. If they put you out there, they believed in you. They weren't someone who was going to stand up and try to control the game from the sideline all the time because I think those days are gone. They gave you the confidence to go out there and be the best you. And I definitely think all three coaches that I mentioned right there were guys that did that and they got the best out of us.
Yeah, I think everything I've heard and people I talk to, it's like when he got the chance in Cleveland, then with the Lakers, it was just like, a lot of playbooks, a lot of like controlling every single portion of everything. And it was just very rigid. And the things that, he's talked about recently, it sounds like being around the Warriors, he's seen how Kerr's done it and kind of striking that balance. And that's, I think my hope is like, all right, you had those jobs at a very young age, a lot of pressure packed with some really talented players. How are you going to look now with the time away, the evolution, and with a team that like, that's not an easy job to take over. This job is not easy.
No, and it's definitely, like I said, because coming from the Warriors again, you see the freedom and kind of, sometimes Steve Kerr just does a great job of just stepping back and allowing these guys to go out there and do what they does. But that's because this team has earned that. There are a lot of veterans and there's a lot of, Hall of Famers on that team. So when you're coming to a situation that's almost night and day, this team hasn't had any all-stars. This team is fairly young and this team has not been good for, so what is a 16-year drought. So again, Deuce, I think you make that a great point how do you find that balance of, okay, there's a regimen and there's a foundation and there's principles we're going to be about, but then I'm also not going to overdo that because sometimes that can turn players off as well.
So 16-year drought. Deuce and I took a look at the Western Conference and we went over, okay, what teams are going to even be a little bit better or be a little bit worse next season. And it's just not looking good for the Sacramento Kings in the Western Conference. Like, just going to be honest. So Matt, how do they get over the hump? Like, what changes can they make in this offseason to get over the hump?
Well, obviously, we've discussed this before, small market teams is unfortunately not a destination for, big time free agents. So I think obviously you mark that off the list. It's important to draft well, and that's one thing that Monty McNair has done in these last two drafts with Tyrese and Davion. So I think the draft is going to be very important. But then I'm going to take some pieces, like a Harrison Barnes or Rashawn Holmes, and really just listen to see what's out there. Not to, hey, we're trying to trade, but obviously you're trying to get better, and those are pieces that that'll be coming off the books as far as money, but still have a lot of talent. So you got to be willing to listen to the situation. We heard the Aaron, the Tyrese trade evolved that teams didn't know that Tyrese was even available, and there could have been some other options. So to me, I think you listen to everything. And again, I don't want to ruffle feathers, but I mean, if a crazy opportunity comes for De'Aaron, I think at least you have to listen to it because, this team hasn't necessarily gone anywhere in a long time. That's not all fault. I put, that on management. I put it on just no consistency or stability in the organization to me, which is, two of the most important things. So I just think you go into this summer very open-minded, and obviously the goal is to put the best product on the floor next year. But like you said, Morgan, that Western Conference year after year continues to get better. So as the roster stands right now, it looks like the team will be on the outside looking in. But if they're able to, package up a few of our guys and get somebody that can really help, you never know how that'll change things.
You've been around some like talented players, especially guards, in your time, and I see all the potential in Fox. I think he could be better defensively. Of course, we talk about the shooting. Do you still think he could take another jump? Do you still see enough potential in his game that maybe he could take a significant jump next year? And if so, like, what do you think he needs to do?
I think he definitely can. How old is he? 25?
Yeah,
26?
he's still young.
Around that, is he in that area? Yeah. So, I mean, to me, you're always evolving. To me, you really don't understand this game and kind of get the nuances of this game until year 4 or 5 and, as to exactly how to play this game. But Deuce, I think you hit it on the head. I mean, for his fast and his hands and end to end on the offensive end, that should translate to defense, and defense is just effort. You know what I mean? So I really think after the trade, where I really think that, Vivek pretty much, without saying it, let De'Aaron know, right, this is your team. I think we saw a different player. He was out there playmaking, he was out there playing defense, and he was out there, running the team as a point guard should. So, I hope that he has a really good off season and just comes into the mind of, okay, this is my team. I may not be a leader by nature, and that's not a knock on him. He's just kind of a quiet guy, but normally, someone has to take the reins. And I feel like, he is someone that could do it because he's capable of doing it on both ends. And leaders don't necessarily have to have the loudest voice. They can lead by example. I got a chance to play with Kobe, and he wasn't someone that was going to yell and scream or cuss you out, although he'll do that every once in a while. But he would just run through a wall. And if our best player is going to run through a wall, everyone else has no excuse not to. So I definitely think what, De'Aaron needs, this summer is to obviously, continue to work on his jump shot, which I'm sure he's doing. Focus on making other guys better, because he's a guy that can get his shot off and score whenever he wants. So I think he needs to do a better job of picking and choosing when to go. Understand that if I have my shooters going and I have Sabonis going, they can't play me a man and a half or two men because, I have the rest of my guys going. And then obviously the leader part is something that's going to continue to be worked on. And then the defensive side, I think that, this Kings backcourt, if it is Davion and De'Aaron, can be one of the best defensive backcourts in the game, hands down. But again, that's just going to be effort and willing to put that time in.
What do you think is Mike Brown's biggest challenge with the Kings?
Getting guys to buy in. Definitely getting guys to buy in, because I think he's going to have to come in here stern. He's going to have to come in and lay a foundation, and this is how things are done. And obviously coming from Golden State, that's going to be a great example of how things can be ran, but it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to be a process. And I think that the hardest thing really for any coach to do is get the guys to buy in to their vision. But again, with his track record of winning a championship in Cleveland and then being a great assistant coach to Steve Kerr for so many years, I think the respect level will be there, but you just never know. So, I mean, if it's not off there right off the bat, it's something you have to come in and demand, like, you will respect me. This is the way things are going to go. And until we start winning, that's when I'll start loosening the reins a little bit. But until we do, this is the way we're going to do things.
Yeah, because there are way too many games that
too much freedom with this team. I felt
Matt and I worked last year together that were like, we had to question effort and heart and so many things you don't want to talk about when you're supposed to analyze the game. We were repetitive at times because it was the same shit happening over and over. And I just, I don't know about you, Matt, but I truly feel like the direction that the Kings are going, whether it's Mike Brown, whether it's with Sabonis, I really feel like mentally they're going to be headed in the right path. Like whether that's De'Aaron taking that step as a leader, or even Sabonis sharing some of his thoughts on where this team could go. Do you feel that way with this squad going into this season?
Yeah, I definitely feel hopeful. Again, as you mentioned, we squandered 15, 16, 17 games on just not coming out with energy, turning the ball over, playing one half, sometimes 3 quarters. See that, you see that in the playoffs now with Memphis. And I've been saying that, Memphis was a very talented young team that did well in the regular season, but learning how to win, and particularly learning how to win in the playoffs are a big deal, so to be able to learn how to win, how do you execute in the last 2 minutes? There's no my bads in the last 2 minutes. You have to be there on cover, you have to communicate, you have to make pass, and you have to take your shot. So again, learning how, and it sounds, when fans hear this, you're like, learning how to win, that's a real thing. People have to learn how to win at this level, because it's not, you can't get away with the sloppy my bads and turnovers. Those turn into losses. So again, I think, obviously with the pedigree that Mike has and the attention to detail on the defensive end, that's going to be something that'll hopefully be shored up, because defense is what always leads to transitioning and getting guys in a rhythm and a flow. But all that starts with effort on the defensive end.
What surprised you about the playoffs this year? Is there anything that jumps out to you?
No, not necessarily. I think they've been fun. They've been competitive. But the one thing that's bothered me, and I think I speak for a lot of people, the refs. Holy shit! With just how they continue to fuck the flow of the game up and giving BS technical fouls and looking at every foul, the season foul, and it's just like people like these refs in the league. People don't come to see the refs. They don't, the sign that a ref did a great job in the game is to not even know he was there. So these refs have to kind of take a step back, because I just think I don't recall ever having so much just like, what the fuck are the refs doing across the board in all these games? They go to the review monitor for flagrant fouls probably 5 to 10 times a game, and that completely messes up the rhythm of the flow of the game. And you can just tell that, like the Giannis thing, when Horford dunked on Giannis the other day, he didn't try to hit him in the face with his left hand. That was just a natural move of him coming off the rim, and it happened to hit him. But then you waste, 3 minutes, and you're handing out these flagrant fouls left and right. So outside of the refs, I just think it's been really competitive. It's been fun. And I just wish the Kings can get a taste of what this is like. You know what I mean? Because there's nothing like the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
Because you look at the Grizzlies and you see they're getting a taste of this and how hard they work to get there. And now you're seeing how, like you're saying, how difficult it is to win in the playoffs. But how good is this experience for the young guys and for a newer team like the Grizzlies?
Well, this is the only way you learn. You learn through experience, So I feel like, the Grizzlies window is coming up within the next years, and I feel like stuff is going to serve them so well down the road, because again, they have to learn how to win in the playoffs. And I'm playing like a team like Golden State. You're going to learn by experience, by watching, seeing what they did to us. Okay, this is when down the stretch we have to execute. We have to play defense. We have to Again, there's no better teacher than experience. Obviously, the goal of the Kings is just to get there, but then it's a whole new world once you do get there.
And you're talking about all the reviews, and I'm with you, Matt. Like, it is crazy. And I think some of the players, too, know now they've adjusted where they're like, dude, they're going to review this, so I might sell this a little more. I could at least get I can get like a minute and a half to like just chill and rest. It is insane to me, like what they're looking at. And it takes away the flow completely. And then a lot of times the replays, sometimes they make it look a lot worse than it really is in fast motion. I don't know, man. Replay review is really tough, because like you want to get the calls right, but sometimes it's a judgment thing, and there's going to be hard fouls in the playoffs. Obviously,
first and foremost.
Yeah, I mean Dylan Brooks play, like, review that one. That Payton goes down hard to the ground, sure, but like these ticky tack stuff, like, come on, let's play.
Just play basketball. I mean, the playoffs. Obviously the league has changed, and they're emphasizing, freedom of movement on the offensive end. But you said it, during the playoffs, it's got to be, it can't be flag football in the playoffs. You got to put your body on someone. You got to help. You got to put your hands on people. You got to be able to be physical, because at the end of the day, this is what these teams are fighting for, a championship. So you want to make it. It's not going to be easy. And I just think with all the touching and reviewing and crazy, Luka got a technical for looking at someone, and Luka got a technical, and I'm just like, why are you, what are you doing? Like, we don't come to see you, we come to see these amazing talented players play. And it's crazy that the refs are just at the forefront of things when they should be in the background.
You obviously know CP3. How does Chris Paul make guys better, his teammates better? Because he seems to do that on each team that he's gone to in these last couple of seasons.
He just empowers guys. He lets them know that he has confidence in them, and he gets you the ball where, first of all, he studies the guys and understands where they need the ball. He's always been great, and not only making everyone, better players, but particularly big guys. Chris is great at, if you look down the list, it's Tyson Chandler, it's DeAndre Jordan, it was Clint Capella, now A is a benefit of, just one of the best minds we've ever seen, and the ability to get the guys the ball where they're most effective at is great. And then also, he is a very vocal leader. In the past, sometimes I call Chris like kind of like a throwback point guard. He's going to tell you what needs to be said, not what you want to hear. And that, sometimes rubs guys the wrong way, but it looks like Phoenix has bought into that. And then still at his old ass age at 37, he's out there giving everything he has on the defensive end as well. So, I love to see, CP. I picked the Warriors going into the playoffs to win a championship, but I would love to see my brother CP get another chance to go back to the finals and actually win one.
The guy that I'm starting to think is actually getting the respect he deserves, especially after last year, now this year, Devin Booker. But in some ways, I still feel like he's underrated. That guy, I know, I think it was Stephen A. compared him to Kobe last year, and some people are like, come on, you can't compare him to that. And I get it. Kobe's at a different level. But I mean, I watch him and I see a lot of similarities.
Kobe-ish.
Yes.
Kobe-ish. You know, he was one of the guys that Kobe took under his wing, you know, along with Jason Tatum and Kyrie Irving. So I definitely do see some Kobe in Devin Booker. Now, no one is saying he is Kobe, but you definitely do see some Kobe in Devin Booker. And I just think, you know, he's flown under the radar because, you know, up until CP3 got there, I was very outspoken about it. I felt like he was wasting his career there. You know, they hadn't put anything significant around him. But then now that he's been on the biggest stage and been able to perform, people see. But I remember playing him, I want to say it was his second year or something, and Earl Watson was the coach in Phoenix. And I wasn't too familiar with who he was. And this little motherfucker came out here, you know, wasn't afraid of anything, played hard on both ends, took big shots, made big shots, and was so skilled. I'm just like, yo, he's going to be a problem. And I was like, no, he's going to be one of the ones. And I remember him saying that. I want to say this was like 2015 or 16, and then obviously fast forward now. And I agree, Deuce. I still feel like he is underrated, but you know, a tremendous talent, a big shot taker and a shot maker. A guy that can score at all three levels, and you know, he's definitely one of the talents in the game.
The one thing that jumps out to me about his journey too is like for years it was, oh man, he's on a bad team. He can't be that good of a player. And I feel like fans and media they struggle the most with trying to figure out, all right, who's actually a good player, even if you're on a bad team. Like it's so tough to see, but I feel like all the former NBA players and NBA players, they see a talent like, no, this guy's for real. And that's what just jumped out to me. What you said about Booker is you knew early on, like, oh, he is legit.
Yeah.
What do you think the disconnect is with, like, is it just, I mean, I guess it's simply you guys play the game and know the game, and it's a lot of media and fans were just idiots or something. Because he was getting a lot of criticism early on with Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, I just think, you know, people only look at winning now, you know, which is obviously very important, but, you know, he can't help that he was drafted to a team that just wasn't very good. You know what I mean? So, oh, he's dropping these numbers because the team is bad. And sometimes that is the case, but he's been dropping the same numbers and the team's been good. You know what I mean? So there are guys that you can tell, you know, some guys are, you know, perfect fits for situations where you can, you know, go out and average 20 on a bad team, but then put him in another situation and he kind of just blends in. But Booker was different. You know, Booker was someone that you can tell, even though this was a bad team, he was very talented and he had the work ethic to go with it, which, you know, I learned from Earl Watson very on. He's like, you know, this guy's a workhorse. He's first in the gym, last to leave, works on all facets of his game. So, you know, it's just beautiful to see. But, you know, that I think the fans sometimes just get persuaded by the media. You know, the media will start a narrative about someone without really knowing what it really is. And next thing you know, that's the truth. You know, it's not always it's not always the truth. It's just like it's a narrative that is thrown out there that just gets passed around so much it almost becomes the truth. So, you know, Devin Booker is definitely one of the bright young talents, and for years he's been underrated. But I think that's also what keeps the chip on his shoulder, because he knows he's great, but he's, you know, enjoying showing the rest of the world how great he is.
Yeah, I think he's like totally underappreciated at times. Sometimes people see those freakish stat lines from Joel Embiid and Jokic and go like, that's what you need. And they also can do things on the defensive end, but so does Devin Booker, you know? So I just think there's something so special about him and his game. And speaking of the MVP candidates and the MVP, what did you think about the MVP voting? And do you like that Jokic won it back to back?
You know, I'm happy that you know, he had a tremendous season. You know, I think it's a coin flip whether you thought it was Embiid or Jokic. I personally thought Embiid had did what he deserved to, or did what he needed to do to prove he was MVP. You know, being runner up last year and then coming back with a better season, and the fact that he still has his team, you know, involved, to me is important. But you also look at, you know, what Joker was able to do without his guns. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing I just don't really understand what the criteria is, because although Joker did it without his other guys, you can't blame that on the other candidates. okay, well, Murray's hurt and Michael Porter Jr.'s hurt, but that's not Embiid's fault. That's not Booker's fault. So it's just interesting to see. I don't really know what they judge it on, but again, I mean, hats off to Joker. It was really, you could have picked whatever guy out of those two guys, and to me, because put up numbers that were incredible this year. But to me, it was really a coin flip, and it was a very tight race. And I do feel bad for Embiid because he has endured a lot, and he's been playing his butt off the last few seasons. But he'll have to run it back next year.
I think one of my issues with the voting, and I'm cool, like I'm with you. I think it was such a close race. I don't have a problem with whoever won it. But I think the league's got to evolve the voting, and I don't know the exact solution. I do think some player voting should matter. I think some coaches should get a voice, because I do see the list of, we get the full list of who votes, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but there's some people who aren't watching every game. I mean, that's just and I look at that, and that bugs me, because there are plenty of players who study the game, know the game, they're coaches. There are other media people. There are bloggers who pay more attention than some of these people who are getting votes. And these are important decisions. And it goes to what you're just saying. There's a narrative that forms, and you look at the voting and you're like, does this guy really watch the game? And that's kind of my problem. I don't know how to fix it, but I don't know. What do you think about having like players be involved in the voting?
I think that's important. And real quick before, is it mostly media? When you say you get the list, is it majority media that votes on MVP?
Yeah, it's all media. It's all from all over the country. You got national people, you've got local people. I mean, there's sometimes I see names, I'm like, who the hell is this?
There's like local people at times, like even if, I don't know, a beat writer, whoever you want to call it, but it's like they're not watching those, Western Conference games when they're on the East Coast. They're going to bed.
Late at night, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like someone like Zach Lowe, I know he watches everything. That guy digs, he goes, breaks down films. There's some people like that, but the majority of people, they're beat guys who are going around the country. They're not watching every game to have a real feel for this.
Yeah. I definitely feel like there should be retires, top 75. Like, to me, somehow there has to be players that are voting, whether it be current, whether it be retired, whether it be Hall of Famers, because there are things that we see as former players that the media per se wouldn't see, or even involving coaches, because the coaches are the ones that are, obviously coaching out there and then watching a bunch of film, and they can give you an opinion. But the fact is, don't really know what to be out there. It's kind of hard to take their word as gospel, because you've never done what we've done. You know what I mean? And again, that's not you have to play basketball to vote. I'm not saying that at all, but I do think that element a different perspective what it takes day out from you take a
I think we're losing Matt a bit here.
From now,
Matt.
Yeah, we started to cut out a little bit here. But,
low bandwidth.
Matt, it's all good, man. We appreciate you hanging out with us for a bit. We can't wait to hear the Pat Bev podcast, because I feel like that's going to be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for joining us, dude, and hopefully we can catch up with you again soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. We'll talk soon.
Yeah,
bye, Matt.
The one and only Matt Barnes, dude. Love that guy.
Damn, I wish it wasn't breaking up.
Yeah, it's all good. It happens.
Oh, totally.
It happens.
Just so many things I wanted to say to him.
Before we continue, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Get that going. That should be well over 100. Make sure to follow, subscribe, all that stuff. Yeah, dude, a lot of interesting comments from Matt Barnes. We hit on a ton of topics, including the Kings hiring Mike Brown, and I thought he was pretty fair. You know what I mean? And
absolutely,
it's not like he's like, this guy can't coach, or like the reality is that was like 10 years ago. He coached the Lakers. When Matt played with the Warriors, that was Mike Brown's first year with the team.
2017.
That was 6 years ago. So you hope he's evolved.
Yeah.
And then it goes to what Matt said. Like, you can't, hopefully you're not the same person you are 4 years ago.
Yeah. Everyone
in life should be finding ways to improve, not only personally, but professionally. And I think Mike Brown, based on his comments, has done that. So I'm intrigued. I mean, he wasn't slamming him. He was just telling you his perspective of what he went through as a player.
But that's what I love about Matt Barnes. He don't give a damn who you are. He's just going to speak his truth, and he does it so respectfully, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is what my experience was. My next experience in this next part of my life as a television analyst and former player could be so different now with how I see Mike Brown as a head coach and what he does in this next season. So, and that was something else. I forgot to kind of bring it up because I remember telling people when I text Matt about the finalists, I was like, who do you want to be the next Kings head coach? And he was like, he likes Mark Jackson, you know? And so that's another thing for him in the direction he wanted to go that a lot of Kings fans didn't want to go. So it's cool to just hear his perspective.
And at the end there, I know he was cutting out, and so we apologize for the live people. It was cutting out a bit today. But the whole idea of players getting an MVP vote, and I don't know how the structure would be, but, dude, I'm for it. I just think they're around it so much. They get the game. They should, and I know the counter would be like, yeah, but some players are biased. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if you know this. Media is biased too. You're not supposed to be, but let's be honest. There's media members who might be like, I'm not voting for Embiid because he was mean to me one time in 2016.
I see Warriors media people right now like pissed off at Taylor Jenkins, like literally taking it personal about what he's saying with the knee, Jordan Poole, and all that stuff. When high emotions are here, obviously it's the NBA playoffs, but like nobody has to take anything so personally.
Exactly. Morgan, what was that?
Oh, so Marc Spears will be joining us at 11.
Okay, so just for you, so you know, I know that Marc Spears is joining us at 11. Morgan, sometimes she'll give me signals like, well, this is how we communicate. We'll tap each other, be like, hey, I got a question or whatever. All she does is she does this.
I was just like 11.
What does this mean?
No, I was like 11.
No, you put your fingers together as
That's
if I'm supposed to know. That means Marc Spears is at 11.
Whatever. You're supposed to read my mind.
I mean, what the hell was that?
11.
Before we get to Marc Spears, let's get to some YouTube and Twitch comments.
Dude, and I am super excited for the All the Smoke episode with Pat Beverly. He's going to record that right now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hopefully they're not doing it on the internet. The connection.
They're not. They're doing it in person.
Oh, man. The Game 916 said, Matt also said some of it was on the players, too, during that Lakers stint, which is why you respect the opinion. Overall ownership is rare. Yeah, and I mean, I think that has to be pointed out. I think the other thing, too, is, dude, talk about a weird situation. Phil Jackson dips out, and Mike Brown's got to take over, and you're taking a veteran team, trying to put your imprint on things. You're trying to, all right, do I have to be a little more loose with this group? What does this group need? I'm dealing with Kobe. He had some personalities in that locker room, which wasn't easy at all.
No, and obviously, as any coach, your mentality is going to be like, I can do this. I have what it takes to be capable of taking hold of this locker room and changing things and doing this and that. But that wasn't the case. And I feel like looking at the Sacramento Kings, and that's what I kind of brought up to Matt too, the mentality of this team is so different than what it was when it was the DeMarcus team or when Buddy Hield was on the team. Like there's just something different about it that going forward, I feel like they want it enough where they're going to buy in. But I shouldn't speak too soon. Believe it when I see it.
E. John says, I think players should get the majority of the votes, like all-star voting where the fan vote is only some percentage of what counts. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's just an old school approach. Like back in the day with MVP voting, not every game was on TV. We just covered things differently now, and now there's so much more information. Fans know more than ever. There's plenty of fans who know more than media members, right? They watch more games. They're not focused on one thing. When you're a beat reporter or if you're covering the NBA, like even the best national guys, you're focused on a couple of things. You're focused on what's hot. You're focused on what's going on with the Lakers, what's going on with the Warriors, like big picture things, You're not necessarily focused on, how Davion Mitchell improved down the stretch for Sacramento and if he should be on the all-rookie second team. You don't know. Like, you're not watching.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And you just think about all the smaller creators that you and I have found in the past year of just, creating content about the NBA and putting on YouTube or putting on TikTok. And there's times where I'm learning something from this creator because they are watching everything. They're enjoying, they're soaking it all in, and then also sharing their knowledge with others.
It should just be a mix. It should just be a mix. Like, have some of the premier media. It shouldn't just be all players or all media or whatever, all coaches. It should be kind of a blend of the three.
I was going to say, Matt Barnes should get a vote. Like, he's
Again,
media
people
too.
who understand the game should get votes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would never
cool
want
with
to
that.
vote, by the way. I would never want to
Why?
vote. I would not want that pressure. Like, just thinking about it gives me anxiety.
Yeah.
Ugh. Awful. Blah. No, never. I can like, you guys know, I always sit on the fence with everything. I can't just pick. Awful. No way.
Ahmad in the chat says, what's your guys' main concern with Mike Brown?
Ooh.
It's a great question. I think it goes to what Matt was kind of saying, right? Is striking the balance. And you want to have relationships with guys, but this Kings team, I think more than ever, this organization for where it's been the last 16 years needs structure, and the relationship building is important for culture, but having some structure in place. I feel like at times, especially over the last 5 years, there's too much looseness. It's too much. How many times have the Kings gone through a stretch where they go 5-3 and like, it seems like the players are kind of thinking like they're back, or like fans. It's like, no, head down, work. Let's build something. Be patient.
You are nothing. So even if you win 5 games, you are still nothing. And don't quit and don't stop until you become something. Like, that is what I feel like the mentality needs to be. Obviously, you have to find the balance of also having the positive vibes within there too. You can't just think that you are nothing, you are trash, and like have that mentality. No, you got to stay positive. But the balancing act is so hard in so many different things in life, right? Like eating healthy and still like working out, but then also being able to enjoy some other things once in a while. And then you look on the basketball court with like players and coaches and being friends with people, but also finding that way to discipline and have leadership qualities that allow you to take things to the next level. It's not easy, but yeah, that would be my only
You got to tap into something
concern.
with De'Aaron. You got to tap into something with the team to get that buy-in, right? And the reason I'm a little more optimistic about it is because everything I hear about Mike is how organized he is, how detailed he is, discipline, accountability. These are all things that I know they're buzzwords, but I also go, that's what the Kings need. And then I go back to what Fox said right after the season ended, talking about the team needing structure, how they go into practices, how they prepare for games, game days. And I'm like, that's a striking comment. And I know I brought that comment up multiple times, but that comment from one of your best players after a season, that should have definitely gone right into Monty McNair's head when thinking about the coaching situation. When one of your best guys is asking for that. Like, he needs that, right?
Yeah.
And the team needs that. I think that's so important. So I'm optimistic that there's going to be the buy-in, that that's what they want, because for De'Aaron, for 5 years in the NBA, for the most part, his time in Sacramento has been chaotic, except for 1 year when they won 39 games, which, by the way, is still not good enough.
And listen to how Matt even was saying like for some guys it takes them 5 to 4 years or 4 to 5 years to even develop and find the rhythm in the league and everything. And De'Aaron's going into his 6th season, right? Kawhi Leonard took about that 5-year mark to really take that leap into that MVP caliber person.
Yeah.
Obviously, De'Aaron is not going to be that same player, but you still want to see those different leaps with a special talent. And I do believe De'Aaron can make that special leap, but damn it, people, he needs the help. He needs the development here in Sacramento. He needs someone teaching him different things. You can't just expect someone to have the same trainer and go over the same damn things every single year and then learn something different. They're just going to get better and better at that same skill set. There's other skill sets that need to be taught.
I'm more optimistic about it, this whole situation. I don't know what that means long term. I mean, who knows? But I guess I can be optimistic by nature at times. Like, I get to a point where I'm like, it has to get better at some point, or you start talking yourself into, a signing or a trade or a hire. But this one does feel like it could be right. We'll see. It's a lot of talk. We get that. And that's what we always get into when we have 4 months until the season starts, is like, all right, well, I'm starting to believe a little bit. So what's going on over there, Marty?
He just needs, he wants the link sent to a certain email that I don't have that email. I have a different email for him. So
Marc J. Spears getting teed up, man. What's
getting
going on?
teed up. Hey, it's only 10:59. He good. He good.
And we can also edit this out of the audio later, so it's not a big deal.
Facts.
We can hang out and chat for a second before Marc J. Spears rolls through. If you're watching us live, can you do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button, please? That helps our podcast grow. Get us well over 100. What are we doing? That should be at like 200. I'll take 150. It should be at 200. Make sure to subscribe. If you're on Twitch, make sure to follow. Make sure you also subscribe if you want. If you have an Amazon Prime account, you get 1 free Twitch sub. You could use it on us. We also have YouTube memberships now where you get emotes.
Yes. And thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, there you go. Thank you so much to everyone that has been signing up for those memberships.
Like Stephen Brown.
Stephen Brown. And I love it too, because then I think everyone can see that on the chat. You see their name has a certain membership highlight and everything. So,
and we'll add some more perks as the time goes on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I forwarded it to his ESPN email, but let's see if he needs me to do his Yahoo.
Sim says, I feel like our front office is short now. It's just Monty and Wes. Yeah, because Ken Catanella left. I don't know if they're adding to the front office. There are other members. They've got scouts, So I don't know what the deal is there, if they're replacing Ken Catanella's role.
You don't need too many cooks in the kitchen. I will say that. But I feel like when it comes to developing and scouting, like the more the better, right? The more brains you have, the more basketball minds you have on that. That's when I'm like, yes, please.
Oh, look who's here.
Oh, okay.
I think he's here. Let me admit him. Let's bring him on.
We shall admit you, Marc Spears.
Oh, yes. Let's bring him in. I got to make sure the lower third's good. It's not good.
Oh.
I'm hitting a whole bunch of things here.
Yeah, you are.
That's not Matt Barnes.
That is not Matt Barnes.
No.
Oh, look at that. He's wearing his San Jose State zip up. What up, Mark?
Could have been a Sac State one, but they messed up.
Oh.
What do you mean they messed up?
Ooh.
I told you that story before.
Oh, about you? Yeah, my bad.
Yep.
My bad. San Jose State, though, represent.
They messed up, too. We good now.
Mark, how you doing, man?
But shout out to my guy, David Patrick, the new coach of Sac State.
Oh.
I think
you know him a bit?
Great job. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what are they getting at Sac State with David Patrick?
They're getting a coach that has a ton of experience. He's an assistant coach at LSU. He was at Arkansas. He's been at a bunch of big places. He has a connection pipeline to Australia that's probably similar to the one that St. Mary's has. He, believe it or not, was the main reason why Ben Simmons went to LSU.
That's right. Wow. I saw Ben Simmons put out a statement to Sac State once they made that hire.
Yeah.
Sac State just needs to get out of that high school gym.
Oh.
That's tough for recruiting. It really is. But the first start is to get a guy in there.
Well, why do they still have that gym?
What? I don't know.
You know what they should have did was take over Arco or something. I don't know.
Dude, they just built a badass parking structure and a new welcoming. Yeah,
I know, but what do you say? Are they going to go, hey, recruits, check this out?
No, my point is why couldn't they have put the money into that? Yeah. Hey, you can park here.
No, they have probably, and this isn't shade, this is telling the truth. The worst arena. I don't even know if I want to call it arena. The worst facilities in Division I basketball.
Yeah.
So
he's not exaggerating.
He certainly has his his challenges mainly because of that. you know, Big Sky too. Like they're still in the Big Sky, right?
Yeah.
Like I would probably change to the Big West, because which probably would cut down costs, and then also at least it would give you some California teams that you're playing against on a regular basis, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
So it's like it's all the way wrong. I telling somebody, I think the best model that they could do if they wanted to do something that was pretty cool, is quick, and it's not going to be. I know that's not why you guys want to talk to me.
Yeah, this is why we had
cost-effective
you on.
is if you go look at the Santa Cruz Warriors facility, which is kind of like a circus. It's like a Circus de Soleil tent almost. You guys have been there. That costs $2 million. And it's pretty cool. It sits like 3,000 people. They have like trailers in the back that they use as locker rooms. I think it even has showers in it, and it's become a pretty important facility in Santa Cruz. They even use it for like local stuff, like community stuff.
That's cool.
But yeah, I mean, I want Sac State to be good.
It'd be great.
I mean, y'all producing basketball players, so. But I think it's probably too much to say, like, hey, let's make the Golden One our center our home too. That's probably too. Maybe a game here, a game there, but other than that, that's too expensive.
For sure.
Stingers up.
Well, Marc J. Spears, the Kings have another new head coach. It's Mike Brown. What was your first reaction to the hire?
Excellent. I think it's an excellent hire. I know Mike very well. Known him a long time, and Mike is like about the most meticulous person I've ever met in my life. Like the most studious person I ever met in my life. I can see why he graduated from University of San Diego, right? I mean, you got to remember, you got to go back to his military background in Germany, and how he kind of like, he wasn't in the military, but he's a military brat. So he does everything basically extremely structured. He's that guy that like no time in practice is wasted. Like, okay, from 11 to 11:10, we're doing this. From 11:15, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
like he's very, 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 very structured. So in terms of like building a foundation, I think that's going to be very helpful to this team. Like, we know what we're doing every day. This is how we do it. There's no wasted time. And he, he must have a cool personality that the players like to call him Mike B. Like that. Like, I didn't even know he had that nickname with the players until the other day. Yeah, Mike B, which is cool. And I think that perhaps even a third time's the charm, because he's had success in other places. But I think he's probably a better coach now than he was with Cleveland or he was with the Lakers. Right.
Yeah, that's a big one, because we just had Matt Barnes on, and he was with them in LA, and he was mixed on the Kings hiring him, but he also was like, look, he could evolve, he could get better. And I imagine that Mike has gained so much just from being with the Warriors over the last 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, being around Steve and just maturing and we're all like, when you think about what you did 10 years ago as opposed to now, right? You're like, you're just more experienced and you see things differently, and then you've gotten to see it under other people's, lenses. 12-0 when he sat in for Kerr with USA. He beat USA basketball with a dilapidated Nigerian team that he's kind of thrown together and gave them structure. And that's kind of where, like, if you look what he's done for Nigeria basketball, like, they were just basically in disarray.
Yeah.
And he got them together. Like, they never even really had a training camp, and now they're like, they were working out at the Warriors facility. So that, I guess, that comes to an end. They're not going to be working out at the Warriors old facility in Oakland probably anymore. But maybe they'll come to Sacramento. He's just a really, really good guy, straight shooter, great defensively. Just everything he does is with a purpose. And also I think he'll be great in the community, great with the media. I think it's a good hire for the Kings, but also good for Mike to kind of like. I told him, I said, if you could so much as just get this team in to win a playing game, you might have a statue outside, man.
Yes.
Like,
You're not lying, Mark.
yeah, like, and so I think there is more to work with there than people outside of Sacramento know what you got. Inside of Sacramento know what you got. Outside, it's just I know you guys are tired of the jokes, man. You're tired of like
They're funny until the Kings win, you know?
yeah, like but the Warriors were going through those same jokes for 30 years.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then now you see what they're going through. So I just think that he is a really good coach to take that next step. I think the pieces are there, but it's just a wobbly foundation with a lot of changes all the time. And if just let Mike do what he does for the next 4 years, and I think that playoff drought will come to an end.
You know, and at one point, Mark, it seemed like Mark Jackson was the favorite as one of the finalists. So what separated Mike Brown from Mark Jackson and I guess Steve Clifford?
I guess you probably had that. That's probably a better question for Vivek for them to answer, right? I hope Mark gets another opportunity. Hopefully some of the things in the past that have haunted him will go away. If he gets the Lakers job, that'd be phenomenal for him. And I think he's another guy that probably learned a lot from his previous experience. So we'll see. I'd hate to lose him on TV though. I think he's too good on TV. Nobody says is better going into the commercial break than him. So I'm like selfishly, I like Mark on television. So I don't know that I want him to get a head coaching job, but I wanted it because I know that he wants it. And certainly the Lakers job for him would be great. Obviously, LeBron must be in his corner to have that interview. So, we'll see. But I think with Clifford, I never heard his name was hot there. I did hear that Mark at one point, seemed like a week ago, was the guy. And, I was told that, I could see Mike going into an interview and being very, very impressive.
Okay.
In terms of like, this is how we're going to put together this. Here's the blueprint, and I did hear that the front office was really, really high on him. And ultimately, I think it probably was that interview and the way he presented himself and his vision. Like, I'm telling you, man, this dude probably went into the meeting with all kind of information and ways to back it up. That was like extremely impressive. Like he was building a new company, and I'm sure that's something that they were very, very attracted to.
It makes sense why the Kings would be into him, right? For defensive purposes, what his resume, all that. Why do you think he was into the Kings? Like, why was Sacramento the gig? Because let's be honest about it. Like, he hasn't coached in a while, and you're taking over a team that's been chaos, right? For a long time here. This is not an easy job.
No, I mean, it's interesting because Mike had opportunities to really interview other places. And I think he had one like last season that I think he might have interviewed for the Knicks when it was open last time. And there was some other place, but I got the sense that he wasn't like he has a job now. And I remember Brian Shaw saying this when the Lakers were really good. Like the associate head coaching job with the Lakers during the Shaq Kobe era, the Phil Jackson era, is like better than many head coaching jobs in the league. Same could be said for the Warriors associate head coaching job now. But there's only 30 of these jobs, man. There's only 30 of them. And I think Mike saw that there is some talent there. I mean, De'Aaron Fox is in his prime. Sabonis is in his prime. Mitchell, I think, is like a Mike Brown kind of player. Certainly defensive minded, and I think Mike has enough cachet around the league that he'll be able to convince some free agents to come and be a part of it. Like, I'm curious to see who would come along. So for him, it's a super challenge, but if you get, it ain't even about it. I hate to say it because it sounds bad, but I mean, you guys get it. Like, if you could just get to the playoffs, man, like, it's a huge deal there.
It's a statue-worthy deal, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully 5-10 years from now, like, you're like, we're playoffs, that's what we do. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
you get past that hump, and it'll be crazy because I know that place, man. People gonna be crying about making the playoffs. Like, fans will be crying.
I'll be crying.
We
Mark.
we talked about that. Yes, we would both be crying.
Because it's just like, you just want to shake that, man. You just want to shake that level, that label, that that stat. It's coming. 2006. It's and I do think that that there was enough talent there to compete for a playing game, but it was just. You have a coaching change in the middle of the season. You change people on the staff. You make a big trade. It's hard, man. So now I think the dust is settling on. I think the West is ripe for new teams, because I know when you guys watch Minnesota and New Orleans do what they do, you're like, why can't that be us?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Now it's like looking at the West and going, how do you get past some of these teams? Like, you look at some of the teams that were out, like the Lakers, you imagine they're probably back in next year, depending on what they do. And like
Nuggets might be a little better.
Maybe they add some pieces around Dame. That, maybe Levine goes there. Then you're like,
well,
how the hell they get in?
Like Denver, Utah could be a totally different team. Might end up being a rebuilding team. If Donovan Mitchell changes his address. Clippers, who knows? Based on their health, they you got to kind of expect them. But the Pelicans show you that you just got to be in that top 10, man.
Yep.
If you could be in that top 10, then you go from there. The Grizzlies showed you a year ago that you could be in that top 10 and make it to the first round. Like, so both these last 2 years in the playing game, like, teams that were in the top 8 made it to the playoffs, right? So that's the thing that's key, is just like just at least getting in that mix, and I do think there's talent to get there. It's just now you got Bagley's gone, so you don't have that drama no more. It's just about, like, if I'm Mike, I'm like doing like one of Doc Rivers' old tricks, which is like going somewhere for camp. Like, he should go to like Lake Tahoe.
The best.
For camp. And what I mean by that is, when I covered the Celtics, one thing that really helped them was they actually had when the year they won a championship in 2008, they had training camp in Rome.
Oh.
And they also played an exhibition game in Rome, and then they went to London and they played an exhibition game in London. But if you go look back, they credit that time into forcing them to get to know each other better.
Yeah.
Forcing them to spend time together, not having any family around, no spouses, girlfriends, kids, any of that. It's just them. And I know the players do that. They seem to do that, like, get together and work out, and that's cool. But I think they need to do it as a group. And
have those dinners, have that hangout time.
So Doc was forced to do it the first year, and they went to Rome. And then after that, they went to Newport, Rhode Island, and did that for a couple years after that. And it did a lot for that team. So I think there's just, with so much new structure going in and trying to get on the same page before before the season starts, like doing like a week in Tahoe, and that brings some fun with it too. Where you could let your hair down and do some kumbaya, or maybe even just go to Napa, right? And practice at Napa Valley College or something, just something to get away and connect. And I think that when you're starting fresh, those are things that could be helpful for a team.
Do a little wine tasting with Marc Spears.
Yeah, and Marc Spears joins and then tells everyone
Marc knows his wine,
how
right?
to taste the notes and really get at the best out of each glass of wine.
Exactly.
That would be actually hilarious. Marc, we had Marc Jones on yesterday. And
Wait. You guys have a logo now?
What do you mean you got a logo?
We always have a
We have a
logo.
logo. It's like NWO. You know what NWO is in wrestling back in the day? We kind of did a twist on that.
A fan made that. A listener made that. So, we love it.
And then we have
money off of it.
Did they make money?
We actually did.
We paid him.
We did. He was giving it to us for free. We were like, no, we're paying you. So.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, come on now.
That's what baller shows do, man.
Look, we're trying to take care of content. We got a small business we're trying to grow here. We're trying to help everybody out.
Right.
And how about the picture we used? This very serious picture of Marc Spears. It's like
I
modeling.
actually hate that.
Oh, I think you look amazing in it. Are you kidding me? Well, whatever. Then get another headshot and we'll use that.
Yeah.
Marc.
The Andscape uses that. I've asked them to change it for years.
I know
they finally did.
I
But
know
it
we
just
only get
keeps
like
resurfacing.
Hey, we only get 5 more minutes with you, so I want to make sure I get this too. Marc Jones, we had him on yesterday. And we
could go a little longer.
Oh, dang. Okay, we can go 10. We had Marc Jones on and we asked him about like what Mike Brown's biggest challenges will be with this gig. What do you think those are going to be? And I'm praying that you don't say front office. I'm hoping it's going to be more like logistics on the court or something.
That's a good question. His biggest challenge is to change the mentality.
Okay.
Like, get these guys to somehow take the pressure off of you of the years of frustration. Make it feel like that song, A New Dawn, A New Day. Just like whatever drama was there before, like, let it go. This is a new group. I'm a new coach. Everything's different. We start from scratch. You know what I mean? Just kind of have that kind of fresh mentality. Like in terms of the front office, I don't know the general manager well. I kind of know him casually. I'll say hi, but I haven't sat down with him. I don't really know his philosophy. What he's looking for. I like some of the moves, and I think too that for Vivek, you got to shed those reputations, right? That he's involved, or other people within the organization that aren't in basketball operations are involved. Like, let them do their jobs and get out of the way. And if such isn't the case, then shame on society for making up this stuff. But if it is the case, man, like, I just remember the Peter Holt way with the Spurs, and that was like draft night. He'd come in, hey, who do we take? Oh, we took this kid named Tony Parker. All right, good. And he walk out. You know what I mean? Like, I really like Vivek. I got to spend some time with him. I think he's a really great owner in terms of just ideas, and also caring about the community and caring about people of color and social justice. But let the basketball people do their basketball jobs. And if I know Mike the way I know Mike, he's going to have a good, strong personality. where
good.
he's going
Like
to come
it.
in and these are his expectations and this is what he expects to do. And that box doesn't change. Right. This is what you guys told me we were doing when I came here. Right. So let us do that. Right. And so I think, but I know Mike, he's not taking that job unless he thinks he could make them a winner. And because he didn't have to.
Uh-huh.
And I think he probably could have got his name into other places because the Warriors are back, because he's been there for a while, because of what he's doing in Nigeria. I expected him to be a hotter candidate, but somehow, like, he and the front office have to figure out a way to be on the same page. And because if that's not the case, then it's going to be the same song.
You have any ideas who he might have on his coaching staff? Like, is there any names that pop into mind?
Oh, look at
Yeah.
that grin. He totally does.
Oh, he already knows. He knows the whole staff.
Come on, give us one. Give the Do Some Mo podcast one. He's like, I can't. He's thinking about it. I love it.
I don't know.
Give us initials. I'm kidding, Mark. You don't have to do anything.
No, well, I want to say it, but I don't want to hurt anybody too.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because Mike is like real private with that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. You
But
can.
I would I would say this. Maybe look at some of the people that are. Here's your clues.
Ooh.
Look at some of the people that were involved with the Nigerian team.
Oh, Jordy Fernandez. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. We got it then. No.
And I wouldn't be a surprise if people that you got to look at everybody that was involved in that team.
And we talked about that with, I think, Mark Jones or someone, or Anthony Slater or someone.
Slater
yes.
brought up a name.
Yeah.
So Jordy Fernandez could be someone to watch. He's with the Nuggets right now. I'm not asking Mark to confirm this or anything like this. We're not putting you in a tough spot, but okay.
We're just going to stalk the hell out of him.
Yeah, I was just intrigued because, it's been a while since he's had a head coaching gig. And I was like, well, I wonder if Steve Clifford is involved. He was with him in LA, but that was more, I don't know if that had more to do with Dwight Howard being there. So I don't know. I was just trying to put things together.
One guy, I'll give you one name.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
One name. One guy that I know, I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna throw his name out there. One of Mike's right-hand guys. Can you name all the Nigerian assistant coaches?
I don't have them all in front of me. I know Jordy Fernandez was one of them. I don't know the rest.
Okay. Well, the Warriors used to have a player development coach who also served as an assistant on a Nigerian team, and he works for the Suns now.
Okay.
And his name's Luke Laux.
Okay.
Luke who? I'm sorry, what's the last name?
Luke Laux.
Okay. All right.
And I know that's one of his guys.
Okay.
So that's a name to watch.
Guys.
Name to watch. Appreciate that, Mark.
Do you think there's any chance there's any holdovers? Like a Doug or a Rico?
Lindsay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think so.
Oh, please.
I think so. I mean, Rico is maybe the best in the league at what he does. Got to be top 3, right? So I think Rico has a shot.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised if Lindsay still has a shot of being around too. That's what I'm saying. Mike keeps a lot of stuff real close to the vest.
Yeah.
And even he won't even be quoted about it until his press conference, where most guys would have at least had some quotes they could have given you, right, to go along with it. But I think he pretty much, knowing him, he knows who he wants. He knows who he wants on his staff.
I like it.
Like I said, I wouldn't Luke probably be mad at me for putting his name out there, but it's not Luke Walton. This is Luke Louch. Yeah, I think I would Jordy. Wouldn't be surprised if he got an opportunity, but I'm sure, and you guys would know that are those guys have another year left on the deal.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like the intriguing one was Doug.
Right.
Right. But the thing is, you can't. I think it's tough to force a coach to keep people.
I'm with you on that.
And I don't think that's any indication on no knock on those people. I remember, I got my master's at LSU. I'm a big LSU football fan. And the coach basically like cleaned house and all these people were upset. I'm like, this is his show. Yeah. I know a college football coach, I can't say his name, but he was up for a job somewhere else. And they said they wanted to name, like, he had to keep like half the coaching staff.
Oh my God.
And he's like, no, this is a better job, but I'm not gonna. I think it's a recipe for disaster when you force a coach to keep people.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that,
because you're still paying them. Like you gotta let them do their thing.
I selfishly, I hope that Doug gets a chance to just catch up with Mike and not be forced on, because I think Doug knows the game and I think he's got a good feel. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Mike holds it against Doug that Doug used to get buckets on him when Pepperdine played San Diego, but back in the day, they played against each other in college.
But then also too, it's like, okay, if he kept Doug, but he's not on the front line of the bench, is that going to be okay?
No, that's true. No, you're right. There's so many layers to it, but I'm with you. The coach should have the say over the staff.
100%.
Yeah, and then you got to have a strong associate head coach too.
Well, right, which is why we kept thinking Steve Clifford. We kept thinking Steve Clifford, and that's why he was a finalist. And we were like, is this where the direction they're going to go in because of that relationship? So we just didn't know.
Yeah. So that's another thing. I'm like, who would be Mike's like OG? Like, I don't know who would be his. There was a former NBA head coach that, like I said, look at the Nigerian team that was coaching for him when he had to be absent. Give you another like thing to look at. I'm not saying that he said any of these things.
Yeah.
Right. But I think it's important to have a significant associate head coach to join forces with you. And I'm not sure who that guy would be for him.
Interesting stuff. Mark, we appreciate you hanging out
You're
for
the
a
best.
bit. Thanks so much. It's been too long, and we appreciate your perspective as
Keep
always.
killing it on TV. You look amazing.
Yeah, look at that. He's got that TV smile.
Yeah, he does.
We should screenshot that and use that for his picture next time.
Oh, we should.
Yeah,
All right, Mark.
Thank you so much, man. Right. We appreciate it.
I'll see y'all soon. I'm sure you'll be at a Warriors game seeing your new head coach soon.
Yeah. In Summer League, if you're there too.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
All right. Peace.
All right.
Bye, Mark.
There's Marc J. Spears giving us some hints, huh?
I
Some
loved
things to look
it.
at.
I love it. We're like, give us initials. Give us this. And instead, like you said, it's not like Mike Brown said those guys, but Mark's also really locked in and knows a lot of people around the league. So it's good that he's already pushing some of that stuff out there.
Someone in the chat said, what about the idea of bringing Andre Iguodala on the staff if he retires as a player? Said that to Morgan the other night. I'm like, I wonder if you get Iguodala to retire and bring him to Sacramento.
That is why you were saying it. It wasn't connecting in my head.
Of course you weren't listening to me.
I was
I'm
like,
not
what?
surprised by that.
For TV? For what? But yeah, I guess coaching, that would make the most sense. What are you doing now, huh?
I just want to look at the coaching staff for the Nigerian national team. I'm trying to find the link I found yesterday or the other day.
Oh my God, dude.
Where are the coaches?
Stop.
We'll do that in the post show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyway, shout out to everyone for hanging out with us. Thanks so much to Matt Barnes and Marc J. Spears. That'll do it for the audio portion. We'll hang out for a few minutes for YouTube and Twitch. We love you guys, but we got to go.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo.
All right, post show.
Let's go, party people.
Post show on Twitch and YouTube. We'll answer some questions, get some of the comments. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button. Get that to 150. I don't know what we're doing. It should be at 200. I'm not going to get greedy. I'm going to go ahead and tinkle real fast. I'll be right back. Shout out to Leezy for looking that up, too.
What up, Leezy?
Nora, Jordy Fernandez, Luke Locks.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. You guys, I love hearing that from Mark. How great is Mark, too? And Matt was amazing. I wish Matt's internet was just a little bit better so we didn't have some choppy audio, but it's all good. We'll clean it up too. Chris says post show. Yes. Ooh, and Leezy just dropping knowledge in the chat. I love to see it, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us for all of this. Yeah, Deuce already got to the Andre Iguodala question. Man, hi, Morgan. Hi, Jeff Hardy rules. Dude, grab the pads. I am, every time I talk to people about Mike Brown, even Matt Barnes' perspective, like, it gets me excited. I love hearing truth. I love hearing different perspectives. And I'm just so excited for a new season of basketball. No, my expectations aren't for everything to change and a dream come true and playoffs are right there around the corner or anything, but a different product on the floor in front of my eyes that I get to watch each and every night on playback with all of you.
Yes.
I'm excited for it. I'm really excited for it. I want to see Deuce and Mo play horse at Epic Outdoor Sacktown area hoop courts. I mean, yeah, we could do that sometime. That would actually be really fun. We have like a listeners rec league day where we all just like meet up on a court and play.
And then they sue us when someone gets hurt.
Yeah, never mind. No, thank you.
We need some insurance for that.
Yep.
Let's see here. I want to look up Luke Locks, by the way.
Of course you did.
That's cool. I like that Mark gave us a couple of hints. That was cool, right?
Yeah. And like he said, Mike Brown didn't say it, but he's locked in, so.
Luke Locks, he's 32 years old.
A youngin', younger than me.
Interesting. Okay.
Younger than me.
All right, let's get some more comments. Appreciate everyone being here. Keep getting those thumbs up. As someone said, this is like the D-Lo and KC pre-show in some ways because their show comes on at noon.
Good shit.
Chris says, I love you, Deuce and Mo.
I love you.
Love you too, hopefully. I don't know if you're a good person.
Oh, yeah. If you're not a good person, then get out of town.
Also, thanks to everyone for being patient. I know Morgan was mentioning the fact that Barnes' audio kept cutting out.
Yeah.
And we don't usually do two guests live on a podcast. This is where you start seeing the two-person show going on where we're trying to get people in. It's not like we have like a producer coordinating this stuff. It's like, oh, someone's here on Zoom. They're here. Let's go.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a challenge, but you guys, hopefully you guys got something out of all that today. Shout out to Leezy, our newest member.
Leezy, why not?
Welcome to Why Not, the newest member on YouTube. Hell yeah, man.
I love that that's what we've called the membership. It's the Why Not membership. You get emotes and you support the Deucemo podcast.
Why not?
Why not?
Have you guys seen the Portal videos on Bleacher Report today? They're doing Draymond versus Rodman today. Wait, how are they doing that? I don't get that.
Yeah, I really don't get that.
Progressive G says Mike Brown had the pleasure of coaching the greatest player in the prime, Kobe and Gasol, after winning a championship. Not exactly the ideal resume for this Kings team. I mean, I don't know what that means. I mean, I don't hold it against him that like he coached some great talent and like he was a different coach, and that was a long time ago. So,
have you changed in the last 10 years? That's how I would put it. I mean, I have a lot for the better.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike's got a legit resume. And are there things he has to do better in this next stint as a coach? Yeah, and I'd hope he's learned from it. But that he was a head coach as a very young. I mean, to be 35 years old and be a head coach in the league, there aren't a ton of coaches that young coaching.
No, and I'm fine with any pushback and perspective like that, but I also think you got to be fair about it, right? Like when you do factor in, okay, when that was, what he's been doing since, what we've seen in front of our eyes since, right? Like with someone like Mark Jackson, if you had certain takes, I wouldn't be able to really, what is it called? When I debate the take, what is it called? What's that word I'm looking for?
Debate. I don't know what you're saying.
God, I cannot think of the word, and it's really bothering me. Anyway, if you had that same thing saying that about Mark Jackson, I wouldn't be able to really push back because I hadn't seen certain things. I haven't seen him evolve in his coaching experience. I've seen him possibly evolve as a person, but not even really, right? We haven't seen a whole bunch of interviews. With Mike Brown, you've seen him evolve as a coach. You've seen him in these stories and these articles evolve as a person. So that's also why I'd push back on that.
Thanks for the compliment, John. You guys put out so much good content. Awesome scoop from Spears.
Aww.
Hey, give us a little idea, maybe. Let's see here. Chris says, yeah, Luke was a young coach as well with lots of promise and upside. ... I don't know what that's in reference to. I don't know if you're talking to someone in the chat or us. Adam says, if Brown has as great of a reputation around the league that Spears says enough to bring in better free agents, then this hire is already a win.
I know. I like that too.
Yeah, I don't know. I think guys like I don't think you're gonna get like some marquee guy, but maybe you can get some players who are like, yeah, I'd go to, I'd consider it.
Yeah.
So
I'd consider it.
Senior Informo says, also the Kings track record limits the available coaching candidates, so Brown wanted to come to the Kings is a good sign. Yeah, I mean, he's had other jobs he's interviewed for, and I like the one thing that jumped out to me about what Mark said too, Morgan, was just like he was talking about how Mike will stand up for himself.
Yeah. Well, especially because what?
Nothing.
Obviously talking to Matt and being like, hey, this is what I saw in our locker room with other players at this time in his life 10 years ago. Will he be different? And what Mark Spears, who has also been connected with Mike Brown in more recent years, is like, yes, this is what he will do. He will stick up for himself. He will say what he wants. And especially when it does come to the coaching staff too. I'm glad that like, it sounds like not only would he stick up for what he wants there, but it sounds like that direction would be a positive direction, considering some of the guys from the Nigerian basketball team had a lot to do with developing those guys and buying in and beating Team USA.
John says, hearing what Spears has to say made me illogically optimistic for next year. Oh, man.
I love that Mark mentioned the whole, like, if they make the playoffs, people are crying. We're like, we're crying.
It's a play-in statue. That's hilarious. We are 9 thumbs up away from 150 in the YouTube chat. Please get it. Let's get it.
Thanks,
Come on.
guys.
Let's get to 150. It'll make us feel better. All it does is help our channel grow, by the way.
Yeah.
So that
algorithms
goes a great, great way.
Yeah,
long way.
And thank you guys so much for the growth lately, too. It's just been amazing. I think so many people are like, what are you going to do in the Kings offseason? We're like, oh, we're just going to grow and keep creating. And instead, it's just been, I mean, just so fun, too, at the same time.
Yeah. And, there's I always tell people, because people are like, you're only going to talk basketball and at Kings. I'm like, here's the thing nowadays. There's really no dead periods.
Nope.
I mean, there's a few. But, dude, you've got literally 4 days after the NBA Finals is scheduled to end, if it went to Game 7, is the NBA Draft.
Yeah.
And then a week and a half later, it's Summer League. And in free agency, Summer League. Then you start getting a little bit of a dead period like July, August. But then you have random superstar who demands trade. That topic carries on.
Love
that's
it.
happening. There's some massive trade. September, it's like it's here. We're ready to go.
Yeah.
And then the season's
Training camp, end of September. Boom.
Yeah. Not KJJK says, great content, guys. Appreciate that, man. We appreciate the love. All Star says, a lot of Kings fans would be Pat Beverly if the Kings made the play.
Times 10.
Yeah.
Times 10.
No, I mean, it was funny in the moment when Pat Bev was going that crazy after
Yeah.
they won. But, like, also, damn well we'd feel the same way.
we would look like that times 10, all of us, and maybe not players, but maybe, who knows? I don't care. And that's why, like, with Pat Beverly celebrating that game, I loved it in so many ways, although he is so dramatic and so extra, but I just loved it because he's just a human celebrating success. It's great. Gotta celebrate it.
What player would you want Monty to target in free agency / trade this summer? We've mentioned this a few times, but Jeremy Grant is one that comes to mind. Could you take a flyer, and this would be the ultimate flyer, this is a different category, on someone like TJ Warren, who had an amazing bubble, but really hasn't played since? On the cheap.
Is that like, that's tough for me to say. Track record shows no.
I know.
But
I mean, if I'm saying, do you take a swing at it? I'm not trying to commit big time money. Otto Porter as a role player,
even that.
Derek Jones Jr., is he available?
See, even with like Derek Jones Jr. and Otto Porter, which I like those names. With the Kings, you are just expected to do so much more than be that role player, right? You look at the way that Otto Porter is able to play with the Warriors. It's like, hey, this is what you do. And sometimes he has those bigger moments and it's great, but like they're not expected from him.
Progressive G says you guys can't discount the fact that Brown has basically only coached stacked teams. The Kings team is a major rebuild. Just doesn't make sense to hire the guy. So Progressive G, again, go look at his Cleveland teams and tell me those teams were stacked. You had a young LeBron James who is amazing for sure, but they were not stacked around him. I don't know if you need to go jump on YouTube. I don't know what you got to look up. That was not a stacked team. And then he took over a Lakers team that had talent for sure coming off post Phil Jackson. Not the easiest gig to take over. A lot of complicated personalities. We just had Matt Barnes on, who literally played on that team, and he brought up some concerns, but he also said it's on the players too, and he could evolve. He has also spent time around the Spurs. He's been in the league a long time, been with the Warriors. He's learned a lot. I'm not saying it's going to be a home run thing, but also if you're saying that the Kings are in a rebuild, you're wrong. That's not their approach. You could say they should go through a rebuild, but trading for Domantas Sabonis and having De'Aaron Fox on your team is not a rebuild. This team's intentions, whether you agree or not, is to be a playoff team. I don't know. It's going to be challenging to get there. They've got to make some moves, but you are inaccurate when you're talking about Mike Brown and stacked teams.
That's fair.
Flat out inaccurate. Flat out.
Strong, but fair.
I mean, it's just like, don't come in here with that. Like, I mean, be fair. Like, yes, you can be critical. And did he do a perfect job his first time? No, he didn't. Down for the perspective,
not down when it's so like, this is what happened, so this is what's gonna happen. And it's like, but it was not even accurate what you said. So.
Also, I love that we put down coaches who have talented teams. Yes, the other thing is weird. You need talent in the league to win. That is important. That is absolutely important. Is Steve Kerr being talked about the same way if he turned down the Warriors job and took the Knicks job, like when Phil Jackson was there as a VP trying to get him? Is Steve Kerr even a coach in the NBA at this point?
You just don't know.
Situation does matter for sure. And JG with a great point. Pretty sure coaches can improve their craft like players can enhance their bag. Mike Brown is not 75 years old and he's stuck in his ways. He was a young head coach at 35, had a couple of opportunities, and now he's had a step back, took some time off, got the Warriors gig, and he's been with them. He's got the experience.
Well said.
Thank you, Morgan. Thank you.
Finally, something.
About time you give me the credit and love I deserve.
Something.
I do want to encourage all you guys who are watching us live, if you haven't before, I know we get a lot of crossover, go over and check out ESPN 1320 at noon. D'Lo and Casey will be live. Search them on YouTube. It's youtube.com/ESPN 1320. They're on Twitch as well. You can go there, and they're going to be talking a lot of Kings and NBA for 4 straight hours.
You would think we work for them, and no, that's not the case. We just care about collaborating with the talented people within the community and pushing out good content as well.
They're great peeps.
Great peeps.
Anywho, we will be back at some point with a watch party. maybe this weekend. Maybe we'll keep you posted. If not, we got another live podcast on Monday, unless some breaking news happens. Any other final thoughts, Morgan? Before we wrap up, give me some final thoughts.
Final thoughts. More. I kind of said this during your Tinkle time, but just more good perspectives from Matt Barnes and Marc Spears today. And I love how much knowledge I feel like we've gained about Mike Brown, the person he is, the coach he is, and what he could possibly do for the Kings. We're not going to know until it's on the floor and it happens, but I do enjoy the dialogue and all the hopefulness that is surrounding Mike Brown with the Kings.
Will Mike Brown possibly be coaching again tonight for the Warriors? It sounds like he will be coaching the Golden State Warriors tonight when they close out the series.
So make sure to watch every move, every single damn thing that he does.
I'm doing it all. We love you guys so much, but we gots to go.
Have a great rest of your day. See ya.